The problem we're facing at the moment is the pollution problem caused by burning fossil fuels. And you know, when you burn a tonne of carbon, and some coal is almost pure carbon, you create 3.7 tonnes of carbon dioxide, a far greater stream of pollution than you get from burning oil. So I don't think coal can be the solution there, unless we can sequester the carbon.
Just in front of me here is the Great Plains Synfuels plant. This plant takes coal. Its primary product is to turn it into natural gas, but from that gasification process there's a number of byproducts produced, one of which is carbon dioxide.
At Beulah in North Dakota, the Great Plains Synfuel plant, a division of the Basin Electric Power Company, produces gas from coal combustion. This gas has similar properties to natural gas and could be used just as easily for domestic as well as industrial purposes. Here in Beulah, the CO2 present in the gas is captured using the same technique as at Snøhvit in Norway. However, there the similarity ends because there are no inducements from the government in the form of credits to extract the CO2. It is extracted, however, because it can be sold at a profit to squeeze more oil out of a depleted field.
So instead of the CO2 going out of the chimney, it's compressed in a compressor station here. It goes into this pipe, and by the time it's compressed, it's now a liquid. It goes down the pipeline, and here's where it goes into the ground and is sent 200 miles north to Canada for enhanced oil recovery.
160 million cubic feet of CO2 captured and liquefied is sent by pipeline every day to the Weyburn oil field in Canada, where it's sold to the Pan-Canadian Petroleum Company. Pan-Canadian injects the CO2 liquid into oil wells that are nearing the end of their useful life. The liquefied carbon dioxide acts as a solvent which frees the oil that is trapped in tiny rock pores, making it possible to pump it up to the surface. So, although the CO2 remains underground, it has helped to extract oil that would otherwise have stayed in the ground. Hardly a solution to the carbon emissions problem. Also, most coal mines aren't located close enough to depleted oil wells to make it worthwhile. But what Beulah does shows that CO2 can be extracted from coal successfully.
I wouldn't say it is bad. It's not going to, in future, to reduce CO2 because you get more, you get oil out of the ground. But you can gain a lot of experience with the technology, and that is important. So the enhanced oil recovery is a good way to sort of ease the way to the real big CCS in future.
Whether or not this technology is applied purely for environmental benefits is down to simple economics.
Right now we are removing approximately 40 to 45% of the total carbon dioxide that is generated by this facility. Obviously, because this was an economic type of venture, we gathered the easiest carbon dioxide to recover and to compress up to the Weyburn field. The other 55% ends up being emitted through our stack. But for us, as it stands right now, it's a purely economic decision on whether or not we would recover more.
Well, there needs to be an incentive for companies and electricity companies to apply this technology. It will cost them money, and if there is no incentive, they simply won't do it because it's too expensive. The only way they can be seduced to do that, if a ton of CO2 released to the atmosphere would cost them money. So that's why, for instance, in the Kyoto Protocol there is a cap on emissions.
So whether it's the desert or the icy wastes of the Arctic Circle, it comes down to what governments do or don't do under the Kyoto Protocol. In a signatory country such as Norway, the government provides an incentive to undertake the expensive business of burying the greenhouse gas. In the non-signatory USA, there's no such incentive coming from Washington.
But, basically the United States has not signed off on the Kyoto Treaty, and I for myself, I really have no opinion as to the total details of the Kyoto Treaty. There's two sides to every story. One band of people say, yes, it definitely is, contributes to the greenhouse effect. There's others that have the same type of qualifications that say, no, this is a natural cyclic portion of the climatic change that the world has seen throughout time. So frankly, I don't know.
We have the countries that have obligations on the Kyoto Protocol that care the most, and there are a couple of countries that do not. And of course, that is a problem, because it doesn't make much sense just for a few countries to take measures while the others will continue to increase their CO2 emissions. So on the long run, you would need all big players, being the large industrialized nations, including developing countries with growing economies. They would need to come aboard to take climate change measures.
Imperfect the CO2 capture may be in North Dakota, but for scientists such as Dr. Mayer, who see the necessity for getting coal-fired plants to join a global effort to cut back on greenhouse gas emissions, it's a small but significant step.
So a lot of technology basically and know-how is developed there that can be exploited and used for other projects. So that's a very good example. I think it's also one of the oldest one, and a very interesting one, because you have CO2 capture in one country and the CO2 is transported to another country. So it is a good example how things could work.
So can anyone say what is the potential of CCS, carbon capture and storage, to help the world meet its rising energy needs without causing the catastrophic climate change the IPCC scientists are predicting?
Well, in theory there are ways, but as we have established it through IPCC, you could capture between 15 and 55%, which is quite a lot, of all CO2 released between now and 2100 into the ground. So there is a huge potential, but it's only a part of the whole portfolio of solutions. You will also need, first of all, conservation of energy. Second, renewable energies. There's no such thing as, they say, a silver bullet. There's not one answer to all the problems.
The reason that I still have hope, despite the fact that many countries are lagging, is look at where we were 5 years ago in this issue and compare that with today, and then think, where will we be in 5 years' time? Because the drivers of this are not going to stop. We see these extraordinarily mild winters now in Europe, which are making people think. Terrible drought in Australia. In North America, changes in the climate system, including more intense weather, more hurricanes and whatever else. So as this all shifts, the pressure will be on. So in 5 years' time, we will be in a different position to where we are today, and that gives me hope.
Next time on Climate Challenge, it's a change of gear. We go to the home front and report on how ordinary people are thinking global but acting local on energy in the home, and saving money too.